What's going on, guys, and welcome back to episode 597 of #AskGSM here today for Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm still so used to saying Wednesday, and it's been months now. May 6th, 2025. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Shout out to those already joining us in the chat. I think I saw Fernando in there a moment ago saying Buenos Dias, WrestleRant. Maria as well. Good afternoon, everyone. Daniel Malcolm also joining us. Daniel, what's going on, dude? Saying you're. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining. As always, let me put my phone on the charger here so it doesn't die by the time that we get off this stream here today. But what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. We're going to be answering your questions from all the usual social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X. If you want to send in a question beforehand, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com. Graham.gsm.matthews rather. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video after it's done live streaming, of course. And I'll include your question in next week's edition. Daniel says back in New Jersey for 2 weeks. Daniel, enjoy. I apologize for all my New Jersey slandering when I saw you a couple of weeks ago at Mania, but hope you enjoy being back home in New Jersey for a couple of weeks. I think we already discussed this, but you're not going to SummerSlam, right? Because obviously that's in New Jersey coming up in August. My cousin is trying to go to the show, and he had texted me asking why there were only combo tickets on sale. He goes, why can I only buy tickets for both days at the same time, but not individual days? And I was trying to get an answer on that, and I still don't know. Like, when I went to the website myself to go, I'm not going to buy tickets, but to kind of, like, go through to see what he saw, I saw the exact same thing, that you can only buy tickets for SummerSlam together at the same time for some reason. Daniel says, no, I'll be back for it. That is a tough question in the header. We'll get to it about Triple H and Edge, who's the better heel. So you'll be back in New Jersey for it, Daniel, or you'll be back home where you are now instead of being in New Jersey for some. Oh no, so yes, you'll be going. Okay, that confused me there for a second. Millennial Noob, what's going on, dude? He says, "Good morning, Graham." Millennial Noob, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well as well. What was I even saying? Oh yeah, so my cousin was trying to get tickets, and I looked it up as well. And I know tickets only went on sale last week. But currently, it looks like you can only buy tickets for both days. Like, what if I can only go to one, or I only want to go to one day and not the second day? So it's kind of forcing you to spend more money. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if there's a different website you have to go to, or if those were just the early, like, not pre-sales, because it's open to the public. I don't really know what's going on there. So if anyone can help me out with that, so I can relay the information to my cousin, that would be wonderful. But yeah, let's go through the channel memberships here, as we always do at the beginning of every single live stream that we do here on the channel. A shout out to our channel members: Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1. Find him on the Instagram machine at Swerve1, WON on IG. Daniel Malcolm as well. We just mentioned him a moment ago in the chat. He is on X at I'm Quarter, letter I, letter M, the word quarter. RJ Marceau, of course, my co-host over on WrestleRant Radio, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine. More on WrestleRant Radio this week in a second as far as an update for Thursday's show. John Ritland, shout out to him as well. Real Honesty with John Ritland. Check out his YouTube channel under that name. He does great work. Same thing with Richie. Find him on YouTube as well. Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube. Actually just saw Richie at a Northeast Wrestling show, which we were talking about here on the stream a couple of weeks ago. I saw him at said show on Saturday, and we had a great time chatting after the show. Great to see him as always. And last but certainly not least, Average Grunt. And by way of becoming a member, you can find him on Twitter, by the way, at The Average Grunt. But by way of becoming a member, he has unlocked the ability to... He sent in his question literally right before we went live on X. And because he sent in a question, and being a channel member, he gets his question answered first. So obviously, I'll always answer a question first, even if you're not a channel member. I kind of go through YouTube and then Facebook and then to Twitter questions. But if you want your question answered before anyone else, send me a question through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Obviously, anyone that's a channel member, I'll recognize your name on any of the aforementioned platforms, and I'll answer it here on the show first. Same thing goes for WrestleRant Radio. If you have a topic or whatever you want us to discuss first on WrestleRant Radio, send it in ahead of time, and we can discuss it first on WrestleRant Radio, whatever topic of your choice that makes sense for us to talk about on WrestleRant Radio. So just a shout out to our channel members. Other perks include shout outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream, as I mentioned a moment ago. Discord access when I open that up, hopefully soon. I'm still pretty backed up for Mania. And I know it's been 2 weeks. You're probably thinking, oh, it's already been 2-3 weeks since Mania. How are you still backed up? Bro, my sleep schedule is so fucked. And there's still stuff I have to catch up on, watch, record, review. A lot of stuff I still have to do. Mania does this to me every single year. It's been the case now for years, and that probably will never change unless I'm not at Mania, which I don't foresee being the case anytime soon. Always great being there, but it's always kind of a struggle to kind of bounce back and get back to normal post-Mania. But we're getting there. We're making progress. Members-only live streams for channel members, as well as early and ad-free access to certain videos. And all of that and so much more for only $5 a month. So a couple... Some things worth mentioning here. If you become a channel member during any one of the streams, you get shouted out in the stream, obviously by me, but like it says that so-and-so became a channel member, and you get a little icon next to your name, such as Daniel in the chat. And so just something to consider there. But any details on the $5 WrestleRant All Access Pass can be found in the, if you hit the join button on this video if you're watching on PC. I don't think there's a join button if you watch on the YouTube app or on mobile, whatever. But if you just go to the channel or the description box, in the description box of every video I upload from the last couple of weeks going forward, you can click on the link, find out more about the channel memberships, and consider signing up for only $5 a month to unlock all of those perks and so much more. All the support obviously helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. But honestly, just liking this video and subscribing as well also helps tremendously. So if you haven't already done so, you're watching after the fact, you're watching live, please like the video. I would also appreciate that. And subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time I upload new content. So one last thing here before we get going. Speaking of WrestleRant Radio, while I should be live tomorrow with #GSM for GM here on the channel, maybe, I'm not sure yet. If I am, I don't know what time it would be, probably midday, something, I'm not sure yet, but that should be tomorrow. So for Thursday's WrestleRant Radio, which we typically are live for, what I'm considering doing, Mr. Marceau's schedule, it works out better for us to record earlier tomorrow instead of live on Thursday. We would not go live here on the channel tomorrow, but what I would do, which is what we did about a month or so ago, we would pre-record the show, record it on Wednesday, and then I would have it premiere on Thursday. But I would be in the chat. So if you want to watch the show as it would typically air on a Thursday around 11 a.m., 12 p.m., whatever, you can do so. And on Thursday's show, which we'll get into here today, but like the WWE round of releases, I will address that here today on the video, on the show. But we'll get into more depth with each one, if WWE made a mistake, why it may have made sense to let certain people go. The WWE reports as far as what's come out, as far as their excuses for why they let certain people go, so on and so forth. So check that out. The full honest analysis of the WWE round of releases coming up on WrestleRant Radio and Backlash predictions for Saturday. That should be up on Thursday regular time, but we will very likely not be live. We will very likely be recording it tomorrow, premiering it on Thursday, and I'll be in the chat for it here on the channel on that day. So just a heads up on that front. Johnny said in the chat a little bit earlier on, he said Triple H is the better heel in his opinion. The Katie Vick, DX's Nation of Domination and other segments. Who's the greatest heel of all time? That's a tough question. That's a loaded question. Off the top of my head, it's not either Edge or Triple H. I'll say that much. Roddy Piper was an amazing heel. NWO Hogan was great. He was more of a cool heel, obviously, but he would be up there. Triple H would be in that conversation. Randy Orton as well, Edge as well, but I don't know if any of them are the top, best heel ever. Bobby the Brain Heenan. Now, I know he was a manager, but, he's synonymous with all the heels in WWE's history. I want to say Roddy Piper. Ric Flair, honestly, probably Ric Flair, if you also include his time outside of WWE. If we're talking all of wrestling ever, I haven't covered and watched every show ever, so it's hard for me to say. Probably Ric Flair. I mean, his fucking nickname was the dirtiest player in the game, so how do you beat that? Fernando said the Cerebral Assassin was definitely the better heel. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it. Johnny said Dakota Kai will do well in AEW, and Cora Jade will do well in Ring of Honor. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll talk about the releases. I'll get into more of it on Thursday's show. Josh, what's going on? Thank you for joining us here in the chat. Josh said Vince McMahon is the greatest heel. And Daniel said the same thing. Mr. McMahon would be up there. That was probably, I knew there was an answer to that question, that I've answered this question before. That is the answer. You guys are right. Josh and Daniel, you guys get the point. And that was the name I kind of forgot about because he's been so toned down. He's been so phased out of the current WWE. I wasn't even thinking of Vince. The greatest heel in real life as well, but definitely on screen. I think the answer would be Vince. He wasn't a great wrestler by any means. Obviously, he had a lot of matches, a lot of which weren't great. But in terms of being an on-air character personality, the answer might be him. So, yeah, I probably would also go with Mr. McMahon. Fernando said the dirtiest player in the game is the best heel ever. I think it's got to be Rick or McMahon. Rick McMahon, or not Rick McMahon, but Ric Flair or Vince McMahon. I don't know if there's a Rick McMahon. Either them or Roddy Piper. They might be the top three. Triple H, like I said, is up there, as is Orton and Edge, and probably Punk as well. Punk's a great heel. Definitely not John Cena, I'll tell you that much. That is a good question. Another question that we'll answer is a much is a small taste of that bigger question. That bigger question could be honestly a topic in and of itself here on the show. But the question that I got from Christopher L. that we'll answer later about who the better heel was between Triple H and Edge is also a good question that we'll answer a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do is, as we typically do, I will answer some of the questions that were sent in previously through Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And then I'll look back at the chat. I will not have the chat open at the same time. I will get distracted. And I'm not even someone who I believe has ADHD. But there tends to be a trend of where I'm answering questions, and it's not your guys' fault. Please send in comments. But I get sidetracked, and then I don't answer any of the questions that were sent in ahead of time. So I like to balance. I like to answer some of the questions that were sent in ahead of time, and then get back to the chat. So that's what we'll do. I will answer these first 4 questions and then open the chat back up. So if you don't see me answering the chat or addressing you guys right away, that would be why. But I will get back to the chat momentarily. But before I do, Johnny did say, as a Christian, I would say Vince. As a Christian, what does religion have to do with it? Vince McMahon, and I'm curious, but can you explain that one for me, Johnny? I'm confused. Because what, Vince is just such a terrible person, so that's what would make him the best heel? I'm not sure, but I would also say Vince as well. Anyway, so like I said, because he's a channel member, his question gets answered first. Average Grunt from Twitter. I'll get to the other questions in a little bit. He just sent this in a little bit earlier on, literally a half hour ago. His question was, what do you think is the best handicap match in wrestling history? I thought that was a really good question when he sent that in. Because honestly, it's not an obvious answer by any means. There really are a lot of good answers to that, and some there really is no one truly memorable maybe, but one truly classic handicap match. I have one in mind, but I'll save that for last. A few good ones that come to mind. I know Stone Cold Steve Austin faced the McMahons in a handicap ladder match on a pay-per-view back in like 98, 99. I don't know if I would say that's the best. That also had the mystery of who lowered the cage or whatever the fucking like mystery was at the end of that show, at the end of that match, which I don't think we ever found out the answer to all these years later. But, that's a memorable one. Probably not the best, but that's a memorable one. I like CM Punk versus The Shield from TLC 2013. Not like an amazing match, but considering the talent involved, hardly surprising. That was the infamous example of WWE telling Punk, make Roman Reigns look strong. Remember that? That was that match, TLC 2013. That one, there was a great... They did a lot of handicap matches on Raw during this period because that was the dawn of the Authority, which was just a terrible period for WWE creatively. But there was another really, really good handicap match. Of all the ones they did during that period, there was one that was, I thought, great with like 11 superstars. I think it was 11 facing the Shield on Raw. I think this was September of 2013. The Shield had already been beaten prior to this point, so this wasn't their first loss. But I think it was an elimination match because I think that was the match where like Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns and he became the first person to beat Roman ever in WWE, like first person to ever pin Roman Reigns. And then Daniel Bryan led the team of like the Raw superstars. I'm not even really sure why that match was made because the Authority was in charge and the Shield were in their pocket. So I'm not really sure why that match was made. I don't remember, but I remember that being a very fun match and the crowd really being into it. And it made the Shield look like ball. I mean, it was weird because we had 11 baby faces versus 3 heels, but it worked so well and the crowd was into it because they really wanted to see Daniel Bryan get his moment and they really wanted to see the Shield get their comeuppance. So those two. There was another one as well. I looked it up. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. What was the other handicap match? Obviously, I don't know how I forgot this one. But of course, the match from WrestleMania 20. That might be the best handicap match of all time. It's not like the best match in wrestling history, but it's probably the best example of a handicap match. That being the Rock and Saw Connection versus Evolution. The Rock and Mick Foley versus Ric Flair, Batista, and Randy Orton. And that kind of led into Orton versus Foley later on that year, which was a great match. And they were already feuding dating back to like mid-03 when Orton punted Foley in the head. But yeah, no, I think that might be the answer to your question. But my favorite handicap match, and this is not a popular answer, because it made... It was 2 people versus the entire Raw roster. And you know exactly where I'm going with this. And you guys may have already chimed in with this in the chat. But like I said, I haven't looked yet. This is my favorite handicap match because I was watching wrestling around this point, and I thought it was so fucking ridiculous that they did this. And it also made the entire Raw roster look like complete and utter shit. They had John Cena and Randy Orton when they were rivals, mind you, which is fitting because they're facing each other this Saturday at Backlash for the WWE title. This was back in like early 08, right before WrestleMania. I think Triple H was the GM for the night, and he made that match. He made it Cena and Orton versus the entire Raw roster. And they were eliminating people left and right, the fucking tag team champs, all this shit. And they were made to look like complete and utter garbage. Was the Raw roster, not Cena and Orton, who were eliminating people left and right. And the only reason why they lost, I think the match ended in a DQ. So it wasn't even as if they got beat. They got DQ'd. That match is ridiculous. I love that match. And it has like millions of views on YouTube because other people remember that match as well. And that might be my favorite match. Really, it's a terrible booking example. Like you should never do that sort of thing where you make so many people look weak unless they're like losers, which a lot of those guys were. But that was your roster. Like you made your roster look so inferior to your top 2 main event guys. But anyway, I enjoyed that match. So that might be my favorite, but the best one, quite honestly, I'm sure there's other ones I'm not thinking of, but it would probably have to be Rock and Sock versus Evolution from WrestleMania 20, which I know, Average Grunt, is probably your favorite answer. I'm not even saying that because you want to hear it. It's just the truth. But you probably appreciate that answer, knowing your love and your affection for WrestleMania 20, which I don't blame you for because it is a good show. Micah does it from YouTube. Their first question was, Who are your early predictions to win men's and women's Money in the Bank for 2025? Someone just asked me this, not here on the channel, but on a different show that I was on. They just asked me this like a week ago, so it got me thinking. LA Knight is who I'll go with. I'm not saying he will win. I don't know who's going to win. Like my official prediction, this is who I think will win. Braun Breaker would be an easy one. I think Braun Breaker can get to the World Championship in a different way. He doesn't really need it. He could benefit from it, but he's already involved in the fucking top heel faction on the show. So you could give it to Breaker and that would be fine. Don't waste it like they wasted it last year, is my thing. But three names really come to mind for me for the men. The women, it's harder to pick. But for the men, LA Knight, Karrion Kross, that's a dark horse. I doubt Karrion Kross is going to fucking win. They would really have to push the guy, and he's getting, better reactions now, and he's doing great numbers on social media, but he wasn't even on Raw last night. He was on Raw the week before for fucking 15 seconds, and he was on Raw the week before that for maybe like 30 seconds. It's like, come on, guys. Can you not fucking put him on the show? How do you not put him on Raw after that great shoot promo from right before or right after WrestleMania? But anyway, Karrion Kross would be one of my dark horse picks, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is another one where I feel like he can get to the World Championship or even win the Rumble without winning Money in the Bank. But it's an option if they want to get to it sooner. My answer would have been Jay a few months ago, but Jay obviously won the Rumble and won the World Championship at WrestleMania, so he's not in the running anymore. But I'll go LA Knight. They're in LA. He failed to win the briefcase last year and the year before that. Third time's the charm. He doesn't really have a clear direction right now, so I'll go LA Knight. For the women, it's harder. Honestly, my go-to answer is Naomi. Now, I know Naomi isn't a fresh face. She's been around on and off for 15 years in WWE. But Naomi, in my opinion, is doing the best work of her entire career right now as the heel. She's doing fantastic work. And I think having her win the briefcase and cash in on a Tiffany or whoever would be great. So I'm going to say Naomi. Beyond Naomi, Roxanne Perez, I know she just debuted, but Roxanne or Julia, they're both awesome, so that wouldn't really be too out of the ordinary. But either one of them, Rhea Ripley really does not need to win it. Bianca really does not need to win it. Trying to think of who else. Lyra Valkyria is currently the women's Intercontinental Champion, so probably not. Becky, no. Like a returning Asuka, no. Liv Morgan, no. All the women that have won it before, no. That includes, I know Charlotte hasn't won it before, but also no. And obviously opinions can change in the coming weeks depending on what they set up. And the pay-per-view is only a month from tomorrow. The pay-per-view is coming up very quickly because we had a 3-week, follow-up between Mania and Backlash and then Money in the Bank. I don't like Mania being so late. I feel like the year's going by too quickly now that Mania was later in the year. I feel like, oh, fuck, we're already at Backlash and Money in the Bank is coming up quick. I want to be able to enjoy it. But anyway, probably Naomi for the women and LA Knight for the men. Those picks will probably change in the coming weeks. Well, those are my current picks for who I think could and should win the men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches this year. Micah's next question, it's a lot of mini questions in one question, but he asked, buy or sell for all of these scenarios. And I'll go scenario by scenario here. Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, a.k.a. Goldust, versus The Shield, Battleground 2013, or Sami and Kevin Owens versus the Usos at WrestleMania 39. Man, that's fucking tough. I'm going to go Sami and KO versus the Usos. Cody and Goldust versus The Shield. First of all, was the only great match in that entire show. That show was one of the worst pay-per-views WWE has ever done. And I remember that was the first show, like one of the first pay-per-views ever, where I willingly did not watch live. I had homework to do, which is never really a good excuse, by the way. I'd be a terrible influence, but I cannot tell you the amount of times in high school and in college, middle school too, had homework to do and prioritized fucking watching Raw or a pay-per-view or whatever over doing my homework. And that included, I would still get it done after the pay-per-view, but most of the time I would do it, after the show, not during the show or before the show or whatever. I just didn't have a chance. So with Battleground, I said to myself, I'm not fucking watching the show. I just do not care. And I made the right call because they watched the show the next day and it was fucking terrible. Anyway, so I love that match, but I give the nod to Sami and KO versus the Usos for the sole reason that, both matches you can argue are 5 stars. But that second one had the tag titles on the line. It was the main event of WrestleMania. They kind of not catapulted, but blew off, culminated is the word I was looking for, culminated this like long story with Sami and KO never having won tag titles before, the Usos having held the tag titles for like 2 years at that point, just better circumstances. So I'm going to go with that. But although Cody and Dustin versus The Shield is also incredible. The next scenario here, Sasha versus Bayley in 2015. I assume he means TakeOver Brooklyn. Or Charlotte versus Rhea, Mania 39. Another Mania 39 match. I got to go Sasha Bayley. That, to me, is still the best women's match in WWE history. Charlotte and Rhea is up there. And I said a couple of weeks ago, we talked about it here on the show like a month ago. Charlotte and Rhea, up until this year, mind you, might be the best WrestleMania women's match of all time. But the best, at WrestleMania, but the best women's match, period, in WWE's history, to me, is still Sasha and Bayley at TakeOver 2015 in Brooklyn. I was there for that, so I'm biased, but I still think that was fucking women's wrestlers today literally credit that match. Indy Hartwell, I know, they credit that match with getting them into the business. So maybe people will say the same thing about Charlotte and Rhea in a few years, but I still got to go Sasha and Bayley. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013, or Cena versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam 2016. For me, it's Cena AJ. Bryan and Cena was great, but Cena and AJ had a better build, which I know isn't really relevant to your question. But the better build really did make a difference because AJ at that point had already beaten Cena via nefarious means at Money in the Bank. So a lot of people figured, myself included, that Cena would win and avenge the loss at SummerSlam. But he didn't. Not only did he not win, AJ won clean. And to me, that really cemented AJ as the main event guy. Had he not beaten Cena on that show, he might have just been what Kevin Owens honestly ended up becoming, as an upper mid-card guy. And Kevin Owens got a long world title reign at the same time that AJ was world champion. But AJ, even in the years, he got a year-long run as WWE champion. He was the face of SmackDown. Kevin Owens wasn't really ever the face of any show. And I love KO, but that's just the truth. And they're kind of on the same level now. KO probably higher than AJ. But for a while there, that really cemented Styles as like the face of SmackDown and a main event player. And that match is outstanding. I love both matches. Cena and AJ to me. And I was also there for that one, so again, I'm biased. But I would go that one over Cena and Bryan. Segment for segment. Rock and Triple H, Stephanie and Ronda at WrestleMania 31, or The Rock and John Cena and the Wyatts at Mania 32. This is easily the WrestleMania 31 segment. I talked about it a week or two ago, but that Mania 32 segment with Rock, Cena, and the Wyatts was awful. I mean, I understand what they were trying to do, but like the impromptu Rock Eric Rowan match, like, okay, oh, that's cute. But then they had the Wyatts out there, and Rock is talking shit to him and calling him like the eater of Hot Pockets. It's like, okay, you're making a fat joke at Bray Wyatt, pretty much ruining any credibility or mistake this guy had left, which at that point was basically nothing because Bray Wyatt had been booked into oblivion at that point. But easily the Mania 31 one, I thought that segment was really well done. And that was also Ronda Rousey's official in-ring debut. She didn't wrestle, but like she got in the ring for the first time. And then last one here, Sasha versus Becky versus Charlotte at Mania 32, or Io versus Rhea versus Bianca Mania 41. Great question. Both matches are great. I got to go Io, Rhea, and Bianca. Quite honestly, that might be my new favorite, new best, both really, women's match at WrestleMania. That match was tremendous. That triple threat was tremendous. So I got to go that one. The other one was also great. I didn't love the outcome of Charlotte winning at Mania 32. It was probably for the best in retrospect. But Io winning, which was not my pick for Mania 41, I'm glad it did happen because I was kind of saying this to Alexis last night, and I've said this before elsewhere, but it really cemented Io as being on Rhea and Bianca's level because it feels like she is a true star every time she goes out there, which she already was, but that win at WrestleMania really took her to that next level. So, yeah, love that match. Both matches are great, but I would go with the latter. And then last question here from Micah before we go back to the chat. He has one more, but I'll get to it after the break, so to speak. He asked, top 3 favorite SpongeBob episodes. Great question. Alexis and I, not consistently, but we've been on and off involved in like a binge of the old Star Wars SpongeBob episodes. And we started it 2 years ago. And we got through like the first season or two. And then we kind of stopped because other shows kind of came back and we watched other stuff. We still will finish it, and not the entire show. We're not watching all of SpongeBob. Literally 80% of SpongeBob is garbage, and I hate to say that, but like everything for the most part from the movie onward after that first movie is terrible. There's some good stuff in like those first few seasons after the movie, but not much really. Everything from when it premiered through the movie was like phenomenal animated television, one of the greatest animated shows of all time. It's hard to say it's the greatest show of all time because, again, 80% of it is garbage. The first 5 years were great, but the subsequent 20 years were terrible. But anyway, favorite SpongeBob episodes, number one is easily Band Geeks. I have said this on record many times before. My answer has never changed. We rewatched that a couple of months ago. It is fucking hysterical. So Band Geeks to me is the best SpongeBob episode of all time. There's a lot, really any episode, most episodes from those first 3 seasons. I think the one where like, I forget, but SpongeBob like adopts like a jellyfish or something. This might have been season 1. He adopts a jellyfish and they end up taking over his house. I don't know what it's called or the rest of the premise of the episode. I remember laughing a lot at that one when we watched that one back a few years ago when we first started our rewatch of the show up until the movie. That one was great. I don't know. The winter one with Dirty Dan, and whatever, Pinhead Larry or whatever the fuck. That's a funny episode. That's a really good one. Who you calling Pinhead? That one's funny. Yeah, I'd have to look at them. Really, you can't go wrong. A lot of those episodes are fucking bangers. Band Geeks to me will forever be number one. But there's a lot of great ones. The Imagination Box was a funny one. The Christmas episode. The Christmas episode is another favorite episode of mine. I don't know how many of them they did, but like the very first one goes, Christmas. That one. Band Geeks, and that last one, I don't know. I'd have to go back through the episodes. But it's definitely Band Geeks. That first Christmas episode. It was not the best episode ever, or whatever, the best day ever. That episode was a letdown. It's definitely those first 2, and I'd have to think about that last one, but the other ones I mentioned are kind of honorable mentions. Let's go back to the chat here before we continue on with our questions and see what you guys are saying here. Give me a moment. Got to back up a little bit. A lot of people joining in the chat. What's going on, guys? Johnny, I know what you mean. I know what you mean now. I'll get to your chat in a second. Grunt is joining us. He said, speaking of Vince, am I the only one who would have pissed themselves, laughing if he turned out to be the third man for Hogan and Bischoff's new amateur wrestling thing? Yeah, no, you would not have been the only one, Grunt. I saw other people say that. I never thought that for a second because we didn't even know what this fucking thing was going to be with Hogan and Bischoff until they revealed it. That would have been awful, but it would have been very funny in the worst way possible. Maria said Vince McMahon is the best heel in wrestling and in real life. I agree with that. Johnny said, remember when Vince and Shane fought HBK and God? Yes, okay. Now I know what you mean, Johnny, as far as being a Christian. I know what that was a backlash. That did not make my underrated Backlash matches, by the way, video from yesterday. If you haven't already checked that out, please do so. I love Backlash. There's been a lot of great Backlash shows and great Backlash matches. Like, honestly, even the early installments, I'm thinking more of like in the time that I've been a fan. I love Backlash last year and the year before. But like, Backlash 04 is a good show. Backlash 05 is a good show. I love Backlash 09. Backlash 08 is good. I would love to do like a rewatch of one of these shows, like for the channel. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. I don't know if I could do it before Saturday because, again, I just don't have the time right now. But something to consider. But anyway, like even those early installments, Backlash 99 was better than Mania 15. Backlash 2000 was infinitely better than WrestleMania 2000. So, anyway, but yeah, they did that at Backlash 06. It was Vince and Shane versus Shawn and God. So if you haven't already checked out my underrated Backlash matches video from WrestleRant ranks yesterday, please do so. Anyway, Maria said the King of Kings is better than the Rated R Superstar. All right, we'll get to that better heel question a little bit later on. Grunt said it was a ladder match, and it was the briefcase that was lifted up. Okay, that's what it was. In the Stone Cold versus McMahon's handicap ladder match from 99. He said no official confirmation, but it was hinted that it was the Big Boss Man who did it on the Raw after. Yeah, they never really outright confirmed that, but the boss man would make sense considering his involvement with the story at the time. Kadeem Gomez. Kadeem, what's going on, brother? Hope you're doing well. He said, hey, Graham, with WWE releasing their mass exodus of budget cuts, quote unquote. He didn't say that. I am, though. On Friday, which one of these main roster and NXT releases from last Friday shocked you the most? Easily Braun Strowman. Easily Braun Strowman. And I'll get into why more so on Thursday. I'm not going to sit here and say WWE will crumble without Braun Strowman. I'm not going to sit here and say that WWE failed Braun Strowman. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'll be crying about this for the next month. I won't. But for now, that one annoyed me. Dakota Kai fucking was like, are you fucking serious? Like, come on. She's so talented. That one doesn't make sense. The other ones, to me, I could totally see. Dakota Kai surprised me because she was on TV not that long ago. And I think she's very talented, and they can also use her to work with the lesser experienced women. But who the fuck am I to say, I guess? But beyond her, they also had Braun Strowman. Now, Braun Strowman surprised me because he was on TV even more recently than fucking Dakota Kai. He was on TV less than 2 weeks ago. He was on the SmackDown before Mania. It wasn't at Mania, but he was on the SmackDown before Mania. He helped elevate Bronson Reed, helped elevate Jacob Fatu. He was over. Yes, he's 41 years old, or 43, or whatever he was. I think he's 41. His mobility was limited. He was very limited with what he could do. I get it. But that one bothered me, and this is probably a hot take, because they need people like him. Not a lot of people, but they need a Big Show-esque guy. Big Show worked there for 25 fucking years. You can't tell me that, or 20 years even, I think. I think he was there for 20 years. You can't tell me they could have found a role for Braun on the show. And this bullshit that he was too overpaid, brother, we heard that last time. Surely when they brought him back, if they brought him back for the same amount of money, that's the company's fault. But second of all, someone tried to explain to me, it's because they probably had higher hopes that he'd be a main event guy and it didn't work out. What the fuck? What fucking show are you watching? I mean, honestly, if you watch Raw and SmackDown weekly, you would know they brought back Braun for the exact purpose of what they ended up doing with him. Braun is a guy that I have zero complaints about how they used him during this run. Zero. They used him perfectly. He never held a title. He was never involved really in the world title scene. But he was over, and he had some really fun matches, and he helped put other people over. I mean, I have zero issues with how he was booked. Gunther as well. He put over Gunther. That was Strowman's first loss back in 2023. He lost to Gunther in an Intercontinental Championship match. He wrestled at Mania that year in a tag team match. Him and Ricochet had a fun thing going before Strowman got hurt back in 2023. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like, but them letting him go, they don't really have anyone like Braun. Omos is not the answer. Braun's better than Omos, and Omos is probably, but Omos isn't even on the show. You know what I mean? Like Omos, they don't even use. I'm surprised they didn't cut him. Yeah, they have Bronson Reed. Yeah, they have Breakker and Rusev. Those guys are not Braun Strowman, though. Braun Strowman is like the closest thing to a modern-day Kane or Big Show that we had on this roster. And those guys were around for 20, 25 years. That's what I don't understand. Because, again, he was over. You need people like that for the Reeds and the Fatus. Fatu was already over, I get it. But he got more over from working with Braun. That's just a fact. And Reed got over from working with Braun and those awesome matches they had. So that one bothered me. I really felt like they could have done a better job. Not done a better job, but like kept him around. Could they not have offered him a smaller salary? And again, what was he going to do? Maybe that was the thing. Maybe they thought to themselves, all right, there's really no more people that we can have him work with that would make sense, so we'll just let him go. I guess. Again, it's a business. A lot of the releases, quite honestly, I understand. It did not surprise me. Even Cora Jade surprised me, but even her, it's like they have so many great women that are better than she is. I could see why they got rid of her, but it's not like they have so many great big men where Braun is, a relic of the past. We got to get rid of him. They really don't have anyone like him that fits the mold that he has. And not only that, but he's fucking over. Like Omos, if they brought him back tomorrow, the guy's not over. He's never really been over, and I like Omos. He's a nice guy. But Braun was much better than he was. So, anyway, that one surprised me the most. Maria said Stone Cold versus Taker and Kane, a breakdown for the WWE Championship is my pick for best handicap match. That was the one. I forgot. I mentioned Stone Cold versus the McMahons. I completely forgot about Stone Cold versus Taker and Kane, a breakdown. I have watched the show before. If it was the pay-per-view, then I've watched it. But it was a long time ago, so I have no recollection of that at all. No L, what's going on? Thanks for joining. They said it would be a full circle moment at this year's Backlash if John Cena slaps the ref as a nice callback to their '08 No Way Out match. So I've seen a lot of people say this, and I'll get into it more on WrestleRant Radio this week as far as our Backlash predictions. If that's what closes the show, that would be terrible. I know Cena's advertised for Saturday night's main event later on this month, so they very quite easily could do the DQ finish, get a lot of heat for Cena, build to a rematch at Saturday night's main event. I'd rather this match just be one and done, quite honestly. Like, they're in Orton's hometown. You will not get a hotter crowd than what they're going to have in St. Louis for Backlash. And I feel like ending a show that way would be fucking awful. If they had something else to close the show with, then maybe. But, like, if that's what closes the show, a fucking DQ, that would be terrible. So, I appreciate the callbacks. I've seen a lot of people say that. But if that's what ends... Like, when they did that the first time, it did not end the show. I think people forgot about that. That was an awful finish even then. That was stupid even then, because John Cena used his fucking WrestleMania title shot for some reason in No Way Out. Excuse me, not at WrestleMania. Fucking stupid. And then Orton gets DQ'd. I mean, that was just ridiculous. So I would appreciate the callback, but it should not be what closes the show. Fernando said, why book Cena and Randy Orton buries the Raw roster? I mean, they buried the Raw roster, but I enjoyed that match. Fernando also said Naomi will win Money in the Bank for the women. I hope so. She deserves it. Johnny said Jade, ? Oh, you talking about for Miss Money in the Bank? Yeah, I could see Jade. I could see Jade winning Money in the Bank. That's possible. I would not be upset at that. I'm still going Naomi, but I think Jade would be cool. Naomi, the thing with Naomi, she's more on limited time. She's talked about before recently, like she wants to start a family and she's getting older. So she might not be around for that much longer, and she's doing great work right now. Why not capitalize on that and give her the briefcase? No L said, I got to backtrack a little bit here. Let's see. They said, if either Dom or Logan Paul won Money in the Bank, hell would freeze over. Dom would be cool. Dom is he's Intercontinental Champion right now. I mean, he could lose it this weekend. I would think not, but there's a chance. I mean, because he already beat Penta. That's the thing. He already beat Penta on the post-WrestleMania Raw. Why are they running it back if Penta's going to lose again? Kind of my thing. That's my thing with that match. I feel like there's a chance that Finn Balor could cost Dom the title, and Liv's not there to kind of clean up the mess, and that's how we get Dom and Finn not over the championship. So, yeah, I wouldn't be so sure about that. There's a chance Dom could lose. But Logan Paul, no thanks. I don't mind Logan Paul. Like, I see what he brings to the table. But him as Money in the Bank? No. Especially if he's already challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship soon anyway. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, hello, everyone. What's going on? Happy Tuesday, Richie. Happy Tuesday, my friend. I mentioned you earlier, but it was great seeing you on Saturday. We will certainly see you again soon. Maria said, I think Bayley wins the briefcase to entice her to stay because I really believe she is strongly thinking of leaving WWE for AEW when her contract expires. Yeah, I mean, just book her better, first of all. Second of all, to entice her, she'd probably leave anyway, first of all. Second of all, I don't know. I don't really need to see Bayley as Miss Money in the Bank again. We've already seen that. She already won the briefcase, 6 years ago. And also, who would she cash in on? Who's the champion on Raw right now? EO? I guess they could run that back, but we've already seen that once. I mean, they only did the match once, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Naomi or Jade would make more sense. Or Roxanne or Julie. I'd rather see that personally. Johnny said WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, or Double or Nothing, Dustin Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes. Oh, man, that's a good question. Better match is probably Bret versus Owen. My favorite match is Dustin and Cody, because I was there for that. And it was a great match. I think Bret and Owen takes the cake, but Dustin and Cody is my favorite match of the two. David the Goliath, what's going on? Joining us saying, humbly, fuck The Rock. I agree. Fuck The Rock. Everyone in the chat, if you want to feel free to chime in, fuck The Rock indeed. Richie said, Band Geeks is number one. Yeah, Jellyfish Jam. I think that's the episode I was thinking of SpongeBob. That was a great episode. The Rock body shaming Bray was not cool, counterproductive of helping young talent get over, Maria says. I agree. It was just fucking dumb. I don't know. I'm not saying, you can't make fat jokes, but it's like, I don't know. The Bray Wyatt was already in the toilet anyway, so I further buried dirt on the guy. You know what I mean? As he's digging his way out of the ditch. Grunt said, anyone miss wrestling posters that aren't just giant clusters of wrestlers? Grunt, I agree. I think the Backlash one is just Randy, right? That one's cool. Because that was the Backlash poster, I think, in '09 as well. Yeah, I agree. The other, when they just put everyone's face on it, it's like a movie poster. It's just lazy. But when you focus on one character that's going to be a part of the show, there's been some really cool posters over the years, including Backlash. But yeah, they don't really do that as much anymore. Johnny said, we are interested. Talking about the live stream for live streaming Backlash? Okay, cool. And Daniel said the same thing. And Maria said that as well. Yeah, so maybe we'll do it. The problem is, I want to do it before Backlash this weekend. I would love to do a watch along of Backlash, like an old Backlash, like Backlash '08, which that one's easier because they just did that on the WWE Vault channel. So if I watch that, I can watch it without ads. If I have to watch another Backlash that's not on YouTube or whatever, I got to deal with the Peacock ads, and it's fucking annoying. You know what, though? If we don't have time to watch a Backlash show, maybe we could just watch a Backlash match. Maybe we can do that. But like I said, if we do it, to entice you guys for a channel membership, it would probably be a channel membership thing because they want to do members-only live streams, more of those. We do a lot of live streams here on the channel, but we don't do a lot of members-only live streams. I want to start doing more of those. So, and then I'll make it available probably for everyone else after the fact. But the live portion of it would be here if you're a channel member on the channel. So I don't know when we would do it. Maybe Friday, possibly. Not 100% sure. Saturday I'll be busy. The next couple days are not great for me. Maybe Friday, we'll see. Maybe Friday. But that is something I'm considering. Grunt said Backlash '04 is goated. And Grunt also said Backlash might be the best B-level pay-per-view. In my opinion, it is. Daniel, that is a good question. That is an interesting question. Which Backlashes were better than their concurring Manias? Off the top of my head, definitely Backlash 99 and 2000. Backlash '09 was way better than WrestleMania 25. I thought WrestleMania 25 sucked. Backlash '02, I'd have to think about it. I don't know a lot about probably not, actually. Backlash '02 was headlined by Triple H versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and that match was terrible. That match was not great, but it was better than Hogan versus Taker the following month at Judgment Day. That match sucked. That match was way worse. So I don't think Backlash '02, '03, maybe '04. Grunt he's the '04 expert. Backlash '04 might be better than Mania. You can ask him about that. I don't remember. It might be, though. Backlash '04 is great. Backlash '04 not only had Benoit, Shawn, and Triple H, but also Orton and Mick Foley. And I didn't put that in my underrated match, underrated Backlash matches, because that's like probably the greatest Backlash match of all time, that hardcore match. But yeah, that's a great show. Might be better than Backlash 20 or Mania 20. Backlash '05, Mania 21 was great, so probably not that one. '06, '07, '08. '08, no, I don't remember a whole lot about Backlash '08, but I remember a lot about Mania 24. Backlash '06 and '07, I don't remember. Backlash '09 was definitely better than Mania 25, I'll tell you that much. So definitely 99, 2000, '09. Then they got away from it. And then Backlash was in like the fall. In 2016, it was in September. That was the first SmackDown exclusive show under the new brand split. So it wasn't right after Mania, but if you want to count that one, Backlash 2016 is way better than WrestleMania 32 in 2016. 2017, Mania 33 and Backlash 2017 were kind of on the same level. They were both mid shows. They were both decent, but not like terrible or great. 2018, Mania in 2018, although it wasn't an all-timer, was definitely better than Backlash 2018, which was overall just a dud of a show. That was when like the 2018 product was almost at its worst. Not a lot of great stuff on that show. Backlash 2019 they did not do. But WrestleMania Backlash in 2020. Probably on par with Mania 36. There were no fans there. 2021, it was on the same level. 2022, it was on the same level. I thought Backlash in 2022 was great. I think all the recent ones are all kind of on the same level as Mania. This year's Backlash could be better than Mania. I will say that. I think Mania this year was good. overall. I think Backlash could be better. But definitely 99, 2000, and 09. It's a good question. Maria said, WWE releasing half of the women's roster to sign Alberto Del Rio is disgusting. Okay, I will say, yeah, that is gross, and fuck Del Rio Del Dipshit, or Alberto Del Dipshit, as Monster says, which I love. I don't think one has to do with the other. They were already signing all the AAA people anyway. So don't think, oh yeah, they got to get rid of all of these women to sign Del Rio. Like, I don't think Del Rio's going to be on Raw. I will eat my hat if Del Rio's on Raw. I don't think he will be, at least no time soon. Hopefully not. Fuck him. And they were already going to buy AAA anyway, so. I mean, I guess they had to spend money on AAA, which you could say, oh, that to spend money, you got to save money, which they got rid of people, sure. But it's not, I mean, we you know what? We can blame Del Rio. Fuck Del Rio. I'm making excuses here, but, fuck Del Rio. Richie said Dakota Kai was in the women's IC title finals and rematched Lyra on Raw as well. Letting her go was definitely the most surprising because, like you mentioned, she was just featured. Yeah, I mean, Braun was on the show more recently than she was. But seriously, she was good. She was also, like, a big part of the show for a while. She was never, like, the world women's champion, but she was part of Damage Control, so whenever she wasn't her, which is probably why they let go of her, I would assume that was a reason. But, brother, a lot of people on those shows are her. A lot of the top talent are her. She's not the top talent, but I feel like getting rid of people because they're injury-prone, brother, people get fucking hurt all the time on these shows. I just, under your company's watch, maybe if they didn't have to work as many shows as they do, maybe they wouldn't get as hurt as often. Just a concept. Just an idea. But, anyway, yeah, that one was also surprising. Grunt said, for a good minute there, I seriously thought Bischoff was starting up a new pro wrestling company just because he got butthurt about Dynamite outlasting Nitro. The timing was just too funny. I didn't think about that, but that is pretty funny. Do you want Braun in AEW? Johnny said, absolutely fucking not. Honestly, the only person, I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like the only person from that batch of releases that AEW should even consider signing, I'm not even saying they need to, because there's already a lot of women they're not doing enough with. Like Deonna Purrazzo, they signed her, and she's really not doing anything. She's been relegated to Ring of Honor. And even Ring of Honor has too many women they're not doing shit with. So I know Johnny had said before, Cora Jade in AEW. Cora Jade can make more waves elsewhere. On the indie scene, I know going to TNA is kind of gross because it's like WWE works with TNA. So you don't want to go to the company that's working with the company that just fired you, but that's what Dana Brooke did. That's what Indy Hartwell's doing, and it's worked out well for Dana Brooke so far, and she's doing decent work. She's doing good work, and Indy, I think she's the perfect fit in TNA. Cora Jade could go to TNA and do well. Gigi Dolan, her husband, works there, so it makes sense. But anyway, the only person from the round of releases that WWE, or rather AEW, should consider signing is probably Dakota Kai, as someone mentioned earlier. Even Cora Jade, I just don't see her doing well there. The funny thing about Cora Jade is that she actually made appearances on AEW programming as Elena Black on Dark 5 years ago. WWE signed her in early 2021, but she's on episodes of Dark from late 2020 if you go back and watch some of those episodes. I remember seeing her on those shows when I was watching and reviewing the show before they discontinued it, thank God. So yeah, I could see Cora Jade going to AEW, but like, to do what though? Would they really feature her over a lot of the women they already have that are better than she is in the ring? Probably. I mean, especially with AEW being an in-ring company, they have a lot of women. I like Cora Jade a lot. I'm not saying she's bad. I just think they have a lot more people that are better than she is. So Dakota Kai is a great in-ring worker. I could see her going to AEW and doing well. I could see Sasha, petitioning for her, lobbying for her to join AEW. The rest of them, Gigi Dolan would get lost in the shuffle. I think she did some stuff on Dark as Priscilla Kelly. Yeah, I feel like none of them would really... Braun especially. Braun in AEW, what a weird fucking fit. If he didn't go to AEW the last time, he's probably not going now. And I don't think he should. Daniel said, they say Braun is 41 as if Roman, Cody, Seth, LA Knight, Sammy, and a bunch of other, over-top guys aren't around that same age. Their male main event scene is older man, LOL. Yeah, it is. That's exactly my point. Damian Priest is another one you mentioned, or you didn't mention there, but Damian Priest is also older. Drew's in his late 30s. All of those guys that you mentioned are obviously better than Braun, but Braun has his role on the show, and Braun gets hurt more than those other guys that you mentioned, like I said. I don't know, just the Braun one, should he be being paid $1 million a year? No, but we don't know exactly what his salary was. They should not have brought him back under that deal to begin with, which I don't feel like they did. I don't know. I have no idea what the numbers are, but yeah, doesn't make sense. Let's see. Got to backtrack a little bit. Maria said, agree, 100% Richie. Talking about Dakota. Johnny said the best lines Braun ever said was, "I'm not finished with you." I'll just find myself saying that sometimes. "I'm not finished with you" in his accent. That Braun Roman feud was great. Back in 2017. A lot of good matches too. Grunt said, hope AEW doesn't sign Braun. AEW is not for big dudes, so it wouldn't work. Yeah, I mean, what would he even fucking do? Who would you have him work with? I said the same thing 4 years ago when he got fired the last time. I like Braun, but that doesn't make sense. Daniel said, Braun's knees are cooked, though I will say that much. Watching him run was painful to watch at times. He even looked in pain. Again, I'm not denying that, but I'm also saying Big Show worked there for 20 fucking years, and his knees were... How many times was fucking Big Show hurt? Or his knees were... I mean, he looked terrible in that last AEW match he had. You can ask Alexis. She brings it up all the time. Big Show looked awful. The way that he was even just standing there. Like, imagine I'm standing right now. I don't want to mess up the camera, but imagine I'm standing. Big Show was like this. And it wasn't because his shoulder was, like, hurting or something. It was because his knees were... I feel bad making fun of the guy, but it was bad. I'm thinking, why would they even put him in that position? Like, his knee was... like, I don't know. Maybe we can find a picture. It was disgusting, though. His knee was, like, inward. I don't know, man. My point is, if Big Show could keep working for WWE well into 2020 after being there for 20 plus years, easy for me to say, then I think Braun Strowman could too. He should have been, you would think he would have been a lifer there, but I guess not. Grunt said, I will say counting down Cena's remaining dates is a cool idea. Yeah, I think that's cool too. I like that idea too. Richie said, if Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank, I will stop watching WWE for a while. I already have a sour taste in my mouth after Mania this year, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I hope he doesn't win. He said that, or I'll just stick with NXT to satisfy my wrestling hunger, or in TNA. Alexis said, all right, so it's settled. We're going live during Backlash. That's not what I said. I did not say that we're going live during Backlash. I know she wants to go live during Backlash. The answer is probably not. I was saying that we should do a Backlash watch-along of an old Backlash. A current, modern-day watching Backlash, probably not. I just have work to do, and I don't like to stream while we're watching, like, the main pay-per-views. I know people would like that, and we might consider that at some point. I don't like doing that for a couple reasons. One, I like doing work during the show, and when I'm not doing work, I like doing nothing. Streaming, I would have to be constantly paying attention the entire time. Johnny did say single match watch-alongs is a great idea. He said we should do a watch-along to all the Omega versus Okada matches before All In. Well, we'd be sitting here for 5 hours because some of those matches are like an hour. But yeah, maybe one of those matches. Yeah, one of those matches, maybe. Yeah, I think single match watch-alongs is the way to go. Watching an entire pay-per-view would be great. We did that with Mania 26. But some of those shows, even if they're 3 hours, it's just a long fucking time. So, I don't know. We'll see. I would like to do a Backlash match. If I could watch at least one Backlash match before this weekend and we could do a watch-along of that, or just different matches or a couple different matches, then we might do that. Probably members only, though. So, like I said, if you're not a member, we'll put it up for everyone else after the fact. But if you become a member, then you can watch with us. It might be Friday, just a heads up on that. Grunt said, Backlash 2016, and it didn't even follow up WrestleMania that year. Yeah, exactly. Mania was in April that year, and Backlash was in September. But it was way better, I'll tell you that much. Daniel said, I would look at which Mania sucked ass and then go from there on the Backlashes. Yeah, exactly. Grunt said he would still put Mania 20 over Backlash 04, but it is damn close. I would say they're pretty comparable. Daniel said, you're right, they did go away from, so I would count Extreme. Oh, okay. They moved away, Backlash away from Mania, you're saying. So I would count Extreme Rules as well, since that followed Mania for a minute. You're right. So, yeah, if you're going off of those, Mania 26 was probably better than Extreme Rules 26 or 2010. Extreme Rules 2011 was infinitely fucking better than Mania 27. I mean, that's not even close. You could have put on the worst pay-per-view of all time for Backlash, and it would still be better than Mania 27. But no, Extreme Rules 2011 was great. I love Mania 28. I think Extreme Rules 2012 is even better. That had Brock and Cena, Sheamus and Bryan, Punk and Jericho. That's a better show. Quite honestly, a lot of the Extreme Rules is in those early 2010s are better than Mania. Extreme Rules 2014 is great. Mania is probably better. Same thing with 31 and Mania or Extreme Rules 2015. But Extreme Rules 2013 is definitely better than WrestleMania 29. Extreme Rules 2016, which followed, or Payback followed Mania in 2016 immediately. That was better than Mania that year. Payback was probably better than Mania in 2017. And then 2018 we already mentioned. Fernando asked, did you enjoy Raw last night? What did you think of Jay versus Seth in the main event? I did enjoy the show. Thought it was a good show. That main event was great. That main event was excellent. I thought they would save it for SummerSlam. They could always go back to that match for SummerSlam. But I thought Jay and Seth was great. The entire ending with Sammy coming out, the Breaker interference, the Heyman promo at the start of the show, the Punk interference, Punk coming out. All of that stuff was great. Really, really good match. Great ending and a good show. Johnny said, I remember when NXT Black and Gold was crushing the WWE PLEs. That was the case for quite some time. Richie mentioned Backlash 2020 has the greatest wrestling match ever. Ever. ... ever. According to Charlie Caruso, who was... I never liked Charlie Caruso. A lot of people loved her. Maybe they thought she was hot or something. I don't know. I always thought she was fucking awful. She was always very disingenuous to me. And then now knowing what she's up to these days, it doesn't surprise me. Fernando said, I think last night was Jay's best match of the year. It probably was. And I thought Jay and Gunther at Mania was very good. But I think Jay and Rollins was even better. I mean, again, considering who he was in the ring with. But Gunther's great, too. I think Jay and Seth was probably his best match of the year. So far, I would probably have to agree, one of his best matches, period. Richie said, if Del Rio debuts on Raw, I will legit stop watching WWE. Perhaps I'm too harsh on Logan Paul, but also screw him too. Yeah, imagine a Logan Paul Del Rio tag team. How bad would that be? How bad would that be? Fernando asked, did you watch Thunderbolts? And if so, and if you did see it, did you enjoy it? Yeah, we saw Thunderbolts on Thursday. I'm glad we did, because now that, I won't say what it is for anyone living under a rock, but they kind of did a bit of a change in the marketing for the movie that would spoil something at the end. That was kind of annoying. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's a very cool tactic, but if I hadn't seen it yet, because a lot of times I wait until Tuesday to see new movies. $5, it's a steal of a deal. But Thunderbolts, I said, fuck it. I will pay full price for this movie. I don't want to be spoiled, and I'm looking forward to it. And I enjoyed it. You know, I've seen some people say best movie since Endgame. It's not the best movie since Endgame. And that's over-exaggerating. There's at least probably 8 to 10 movies that are better in the MCU than Thunderbolts. But Thunderbolts was better than Brave New World, which I liked. I liked Brave New World. It's not better than Deadpool versus Wolverine. It is better than Thor, Love and Thunder, Quantumania, The Marvels. It's better than most of the recent releases from Marvel, I will say that. I would probably put it over Multiverse of Madness, too. I think it was better than Multiverse of Madness. I thought Thunderbolts was very good. I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're a Marvel fan, especially with what it leads to in the post-credit scene and whatnot. Richie said, everyone's injury-prone. Look at Seth Rollins, and he's still featured as a top guy. The excuse is lazy. I think the whole injury-prone shit is awful. I mean, Batista got hurt constantly. Yeah, exactly, Daniel. Edge and Batista were injury-prone as hell. Vince never fired them. I mean, to be fair, like I said, they are not Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai is not Edge or Batista. But I think that injury-prone nonsense is fucking awful. I mean, they push people despite being injured all the time. Orton is injured constantly. I mean, come on. And not even now. He was always injured constantly. Millennial Noob said Cora Jade's release was the most shocking, to be honest. I was hoping there was a feud between her and Roxanne Perez after what happened at Stand and Deliver. I mean, they already did kind of feud back in 2022, but if you want to reverse the roles with Cora Jade as a babyface and Roxanne as the heel, then that would have been interesting. But they opted to move Roxanne on up to the main roster, so that probably wasn't going to happen. Quite honestly, what I feel like did Cora Jade in, and I feel bad for her, because again, I like Cora Jade. I feel like she does have a lot of potential. What did her in was the hirings of Stephanie, Julia, and Zarya, and Jordan Grace. All of those women are much better than she is, and have much higher ceilings in WWE than she does. If they were not there and they did not hire those women, Cora Jade would be on Raw with Roxanne right now. What they're doing with Roxanne and Julia, that would have been Cora Jade. But as soon as that happened, and you're not going to call up Cora Jade on her own to do what? I mean, again, there's plenty of women they're not doing shit with right now. Cora Jade would have been just as much, if not even more so, lost in the shuffle on Raw and SmackDown than in NXT if she got called up. So, honestly, I'm not really shocked that she got cut. And hopefully she can improve, and she's not bad, but like hopefully she can continue to kind of boost her stock, so to speak, and then come back an even bigger star, and they will bring her back at some point. Maria said Cora Jade should go to Stardom. Yeah, I could see that. I think her in AEW just is... It's a lazy excuse because, again, there's already so many people there as it is. Maybe a few years ago, but now I just don't see it. Maybe in a few years, though. Grunt said TNA is pretty much a WWE brand at this point. I mean, yeah, it's a working partner, so I mean, it's basically an extension of WWE. Shayna Baszler, Fernando says, should go to Bloodsport. She would crush it there. I mean, yeah, she was already doing some of the GCW Bloodsport stuff anyway, so yeah, her in Bloodsport would be cool. Shayna in AEW a few years ago would have been cool, but like at this point, does anyone honestly give a fuck? I like Shayna, but like she is such damaged goods in the sense that the booking really hurt her towards the end there in WWE, and she's still good. But AEW has better and more interesting, exciting women than Shayna Baszler. You're not going to bring in Shayna to do what? To have a one-off feud of the Women's World Champion and then put her in the Ring of Honor? I mean, what a waste. It would be the exact same thing as keeping her right in WWE with what she was doing before she got cut. Daniel said, yeah, I've seen that Big Show match. He looked nuts. Yeah, a quick Google search will show you what his knees look like. It was not pretty. Johnny said Braun can be the bodyguard for MJF or Ricochet. At that point, just bring back Wardlow to do that. Although it would be a step backward for Wardlow to be the bodyguard for MJF again. For Ricochet, they have other people. They have Lance Archer. They have Brian Cage. They don't really need Braun Strowman. For Ricochet, it would honestly kind of make sense because they were teaming in WWE. That does make a little bit of sense. But once that runs its course, can you really see Braun doing much in AEW in a promotion based on work rate, where he doesn't have a whole lot of people that he can work with? That would make sense. And his knees are cooked, like we talked about before. Probably not. Although as a one-off for Ricochet's bodyguard would make sense. Maria said, and also before I go forward, Braun also infamously tweeted one time that he was dunking on the flippity doodah shit back in 2022 on Twitter. So it would be funny if he went to a flippity doodah promotion for a guy that shit on flippity doodahs a few years ago, which was easy for him to say at that point. Now that he was back in WWE back in late 2022, by that point. Maria said the fans were chanting one more time at Sami Zayn. Did he lose the fans? That was last week, and I don't think it's a Sami Zayn issue. I think it's more of a Rollins issue where he has not really changed much about his presentation. He's still doing, I'm the visionary, like all that fucking cringy-ass bullshit. And the music has got to go. He's got to change the song. If you really want people to turn on Rollins as a heel, you got to change the music. You gotta change the music. So I don't really think it's a Sammy issue because it's not like people booed when Sammy came out last night. It was more so they were too pro Rollins last week. Grunt said, yeah, Extreme Rules was great for a time as well. The string of pay-per-views between Payback 2016 and Money in the Bank 2016 might have been the last time I was truly into WWE. Yeah, that was a great period. They had, Mania sucked, but Extreme Rules was great. Payback was great. Money in the Bank was great. I was at Extreme Rules in 2016. That show was awesome. I was there with Mr. Marceau and his wife. Great show. Battleground was great. And then I love the brand split, but as soon as they brought that back, the bigger pay-per-views were not great. But the SmackDown ones were. SmackDown Backlash was great. TLC, No Mercy, all those shows were awesome. Johnny said Gigi could do well in GCW. Yeah, I could see that. She was doing that sort of hardcore shit before she came to the company anyway. Are you more hyped for Avengers Doomsday? Are you asking Johnny, am I more hyped for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? Or am I more hyped for Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars? Of the two, probably Secret Wars, because it's like the bigger movie of the two. That's like the end game to Doomsday's Infinity War. But I think both, I'm excited for both movies. I'm excited for both. I think they'll be great. I'll probably do like a mini short here on the channel talking about Thunderbolts. Hopefully this week if I have time. I don't know. But I thought the movie was really good. Grunt said we need Deadpool and Spider-Man yesterday. I agree. Hopefully in Secret Wars. Not confident, but that would be cool. Maria said Logan is trash. I would also think about not watching WWE if he becomes champion. You know, for a split second, I thought you were talking about the movie because we were just talking about like Wolverine and Spider-Man and whatever. I thought you meant Logan, the movie, is trash. And I said, Maria, you might have to leave because that's not a good opinion. But you were talking about Logan Paul. That's a fine opinion. Fernando said, Logan better not win the championship. I would break my television out of anger. We would have a lot of angry people if Logan won the title or the briefcase. A lot of angry people. We might have to do a stream if that happens. Richie said, Braun Strowman can't hit a 450 splash or no Soleil super kick / Canadian Destroyer, so so no way he goes to AEW. Yeah, probably not. That is funny, though. Maria said, better wrestling body, Lex Luger or ravishing Rick Rude? That's a good question. I'll go Rude. You really can't go wrong with either one, but I feel like Luger looked like cartoonishly big, whereas Rude was, they were obviously both on roids. But Rude had that like old school, which he was more old school than Luger was. He had that old school body type about him. I don't know. I'll go Rude. Luger, like, some of the muscles look cartoonishly big in the 90s there for a while. Grunt said, did you see the statement about WWE wanting everyone in AAA to learn English and wrestle a more WWE style? I did see that. I don't know if that's true. If it is true, that's wild. I mean, I don't even understand what the point of that would even be. If they want, are they going to continue to run AAA as its own thing? Because if so, then what's the point of having them learn English and wrestle a more WWE style? Just fucking buy their promotion and continue running it as is. If they're not going to run it as is, then I can get it. But honestly, a lot of the AAA wrestlers anyway, like a lot of them aren't great. Like a lot of them are like in their fucking 50s. Del Rio's like almost 50. Like they're not bringing, I mean, Del Rio already knows English, obviously, but they're not bringing people like that into WWE. If it can go, maybe, but like the rest of them, who are you really going to pick up from AAA to be in WWE? Like, let's be honest here, especially when you already have the Lucha Bros, Los Garza, Santos, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee. Like, you already have a lot of Latino lucha talent. You don't really need to bring in more people from AAA aside from Vikingo. The rest of them, right now, it's not really necessary. So what's the point of having them learn English if that is indeed the case? Daniel said, regarding Braun and AEW, Ric Flair did once say on a WWE panel, they work for TNA. What is a TNA? Only for him to show up there in 2009. Well, to be fair, I do remember that. But to be fair, Ric Flair was just a fucking whore for money. I mean, I'm not saying Braun isn't. Braun might be a whore for money. But Braun Strowman, to be fair, I mean, he was probably offered a lot of money to go to TNA in 2021, Ring of Honor before they shut down. He made an appearance at Final Battle, Ring of Honor's final pay-per-view before they sold to AEW. He made an appearance on that show, the EC3 and the other fucking Control Your Narrative guys. Remember that? Control Your Narrative was making no money, but he wanted to do it because he was buddies with EC3. He didn't go to AEW. I don't know if they would have wanted him. Probably not, but anyway, so my point is, I don't think he's as much of a whore for money as Ric Flair is. Ric Flair just needed the fucking paycheck. Ric Flair needed the pay. That's why he went to AEW a couple of years ago, to do the whole woo energy thing. I mean, the guy is a whore for a paycheck. Johnny said, will you watch the upcoming Mission Impossible movie? No, because I have not watched the other ones. That might be sacrilegious for me to say, but I have not seen the other Mission Impossible movies. Johnny also said, how do you feel about the build to Double or Nothing? We're still a couple of weeks out. It's been fine so far. I think the men's and women's Owen Hart Cup stuff has been great. The matches have been great, specifically with the men. We're getting Moxley and Joe on TV probably because they're going to do Anarchy in the Arena or Stadium Stampede or whatever the fuck at Double or Nothing, which I think is garbage. I don't like that match. I think it's just terrible. At this point, who gives a shit? It's probably where we're headed, though. But I like the build. The build of that has been fine. Joe and Moxley. You know, I think Dynamite's been fine. I think last week it was kind of a nothing show. It was a decent show. Dynamite's been better lately. It's not been bad. I will say that. It's not been bad. They had a great show a few weeks ago right before Mania. That was awesome. They haven't really measured quite up to that yet since then. But they've had some solid shows. Millennial Noob said, don't send Braun Strowman to the NWA because EC3 is there. Again, could they end up working with Braun because EC3 is there? Yeah, they could. Are EC3 and Braun going to relaunch Control Your Narrative? They might. I don't know. Give it time. But yeah, Braun and NWA would be quite the sight. To work with fucking who? Tom Latimer? I mean, come on. To work with Trevor Murdoch and Chris Masters? I don't think that would work. Let's get back to the scheduled questions here. I got to get going in about a half hour, so I want to get through all these questions. I'll answer some more questions, go to the chat real quick, finish off the questions, and then we'll end. Don't know if I can do all that in 30 minutes, but we'll try our best. Johnny said, I love Anarchy in the Arena so much, I will marry it. Oh, God, no thanks. You can marry it, I'm divorcing it. Maria said, how bad was SmackDown last week, in your opinion? It was pretty fucking boring. I'm still working on the reviews of the shows that I've watched SmackDown. I just haven't written my reviews yet on WrestleRant.com. That's where you can get all my thoughts on these shows first, by the way. But yeah, I thought it was a very boring show. Very, very paint by numbers show with some decent stuff, but very paint by numbers. And they cannot go back to 2 hours quick enough. I'm not even saying the show would be great, but it would be better. The 3 hours are death. Richie said, what happened to EC1 and 2? That killed EC3's career in WWE. I mean, a lot of things killed his career, but that really just was the final nail in the coffin of his WWE run. All right, so Mike has sent in this lengthy question. It was more of a booking scenario, but he put so much effort and thought into this, I thought I would read it out. And you guys can give your thoughts as well in the chat. And I'll go back to the chat later on, but I do want to talk about these questions real quick. Micah does it from YouTube sent this in. He said, I wanted to run the storyline idea I had at work today between Cena and R-Truth. I think it would be beneficial for Cena to befriend R-Truth to make sure that Cena's goal to leave as the last real champion happens in December. The story could start off with Cena being annoyed by R-Truth and his friendly attempts to get on Cena's good side, but eventually Cena would realize that he could actually take advantage of R-Truth. Cena would basically tell R-Truth, if you want me to trust you, first you got to clear your losing streak. I had a losing streak, and I fixed that, and I became champion. You need to become a winner in my eyes. Did I miss something here? And I fixed that and become champion. You need to become a winner. In my eyes, as Cena being champion can't be associated with a loser like R-Truth. In Cena's eyes, not the fans. Okay. R-Truth would then win his first 3 matches against mystery opponents that Nick Aldis would assign for R-Truth to face. Cena would then congratulate Truth and tell him that he would trust him, but he needs a favor. The favor would be for R-Truth to win Money in the Bank and help Cena to take the title out of WWE. R-Truth would agree, not realizing that Cena is just using him. Fast forward to Money in the Bank. R-Truth is in the match and comes close to winning, but would fail to the winner of Money in the Bank, LA Knight. Yeah, I like that answer. Fast forward to SmackDown, Cena and R-Truth would... Fast forward to SmackDown, Cena and... where did I lose? Oh, okay. Cena and R-Truth have a segment where Cena is disappointed in R-Truth and his shortcomings. It would look like Cena would forgive R-Truth, but instead proceeds to beat the shit out of him. Cena gets a lot of heat, and R-Truth is taken out on a stretcher after the damage Cena has done. 2 weeks go by, Truth finally returns on SmackDown while John Cena is cutting a promo and begins to attack John Cena, getting his revenge for what Cena did to him from the previous 2 weeks. R-Truth would, you wrote Ruth, but I know what you mean. R-Truth would start to shed the little Jimmy gimmick and begin to snap out of becoming a comedy character, and become more serious as a sympathetic babyface. Truth's only goal is to take down Cena and become a WWE champion. You could build this towards a Saturday night's main event or a Night of Champions pay-per-view. R-Truth and Cena would have a similar match like Daniel Bryan and Triple H for Mania 30, with a lot of near falls and Truth high spots, or a lot of near falls from Truth in high spots. Unfortunately, Truth would end up coming up short, but gain more fans' respect for almost getting the job done. LOL, I could be reaching for the proverbial brass ring, as Vince would say. But could this work? You don't got to read this on the show, but just curious if something like this would interest you, or am I just wasting time? Let me know your honest thoughts. Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. That's not a bad idea. I don't know if they would put that much thought in long-term booking into an R-Truth storyline in 2025. But honestly, like, they put a lot of long-term thought into that Judgment Day storyline. I think that started on accident. I don't think it was the plan from the moment they reintroduced R-Truth with the Judgment Day back in 2023 into 2024 for R-Truth to win the tag titles at Mania with The Miz. I don't think that was ever the plan. If it was, bravo, but I don't think it was. But Truth proved at that point people still fucking love the guy. And he hasn't really had a whole ton going on since he dropped the tag titles with Miz last year. But honestly, I like that idea. Like, I think these interactions that Truth has had with Cena and with Orton should lead somewhere. Now, would it last for 4 or 5 months, kind of the way that you're, laying it out here? Maybe not. Like, I thought you were going to finish that by saying that Truth should win the WWE title from Cena. I don't really love that idea. You didn't say that, but I don't really love that idea. I feel like the title should go back to Cody or a newer person. But you know what? Truth has never been WWE champion before, so maybe people can get behind that. You're not really creating a new star. Truth is older than fucking John Cena is. But that's not a bad idea. I don't really mind that. You put a lot of thought into it. I think the way that it played out was good. You're not saying that he should go in there and win Money in the Bank or win the world title and hold it for 7 months. Like, you didn't say any of that. In your booking scenario, Truth would lose. And honestly, you can make a scenario where he wins. Maybe not Cena. Maybe it doesn't beat Cena, but he beats someone else. I don't know. But you know what? That's not a bad idea. It would really play off the Cena-Truth storyline from the last 6 years of Truth saying, oh, yeah, he's my favorite wrestler, blah, blah, blah. They already did the payoff a year ago when Truth teamed with Cena on the post-WrestleMania Raw alongside Miz last year. But they obviously rekindled it. I think Cena's got to beat the fuck out of Truth at some point, at the very least. But if you want to make more of a story out of it beyond just one pay-per-view, I don't really think that's a bad idea. Honestly, what I would do, I like your idea. I don't know if I would do it exactly like that, but it's not a bad idea. At the very least, I would have Cena beat Orton at Backlash. None of this DQ bullshit. I don't really love that, especially if it's going to main event the show, and it should. I would have Cena beat Orton, and then you do Cena and R-Truth at Saturday night's main event. I mean, that sounds like a joke, but it makes sense. People would be into it, and it's not a pay-per-view. I feel like you could totally do that, and it would be cool. So, just my opinion. He's advertised for that show, so if Cena's not going to wrestle on that show, then what's the point? But I would love a Cena-Truth match at Saturday night's main event. You mentioned later on, but I would even do it in May. Either way, I would do the match or at least the segment where Cena just destroys this guy in the ring. But could there be a storyline where he takes advantage of Truth and manipulates him into helping Cena, blah, blah, blah? That could also work. That could possibly work. I don't hate that idea at all. Curious what you guys think in the chat. I'll go back to the chat a little bit later on. Jordan B. What is your favorite speaking of which, what is your favorite John Cena versus Randy Orton match? Mine is their I Quit match at Breaking Point '09. Good question. I almost made this the headline of the video. My favorite Orton Cena match, I mentioned this on WrestleRant Radio last week. Curious what your guys' thoughts are and what your favorite Cena Orton match is. Mine is the Iron Man match from Bragging Rights '09. I thought their Hell in a Cell match in 2014 was also good. I like that one. Didn't love the TLC match they had at TLC 2013. Didn't love the Royal Rumble match in 2014. I thought that was fucking boring. The crowd shit all over it anyway. The I Quit match was good. The Hell in a Cell match in '09 was also good. I enjoyed their series of matches in '09. They had a lot of matches. But I enjoyed the I Quit match specifically, the Hell in a Cell match, and the Iron Man match. I feel like that was the peak of the Cena-Orton feud. I know Grunt said last week their best match was SummerSlam 2007. That was a good match. I feel like they had better matches, but that was also a good match. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I've only seen it once or twice. '08, they didn't have a lot of great matches. They had just regular TV matches. No Way Out, I don't really remember. And that finish sucked anyway. For me, it's probably the Iron Man match from Bragging Rights 2009. I thought they made the most of all the, different pinfalls and wins and the different, the amount of wins and whatever. It was 5-4 in the end. I thought they made the most of that, and they really capitalized on the stipulation. I enjoyed that match more than Shawn and Bret at WrestleMania 12. Probably, again, sacrilegious to say that, but for me, it's the truth. Christopher L. from YouTube, or Facebook rather, he sent these questions in. He said, hello, Graham. Good to hear you again. Hope you had an awesome time in Las Vegas for a Mania weekend. I had a great time in Nashville, and I recommend it, as always, to anyone because that place is heaven. I'm glad you enjoyed Nashville, Chris. I've been there before, like I said, a few weeks ago, and I enjoyed it, so I'm glad you enjoyed it as well when you went recently. So he went on to say, now I have a confession. I never really got the hype with Jordynne Grace. Don't get me wrong, she looks like $1,000,000 and is very good in the ring. But I never found her to be the most dynamic personality or great on the mic, even during her entire run in TNA. I know she's in NXT now, but as evidence, the promos there are pretty much no different than the crappy ones on the main roster, and her voice doesn't really have the commanding presence to be must-see or exciting. On top of that, I wasn't overly impressed with her performance at Stand and Deliver, as I thought she was the least impressive of the 4 women in that excellent Fatal 4-Way match. Am I wrong for feeling this way, and do you feel that she can only improve from here? I honestly don't blame you for feeling that way. I think Jordynne Grace's promos are her biggest weakness. I think she's great in the ring. She looks like $1,000,000, like you said. Her promos are easily the weakest part of her game. Now, I will say this. Her promos improved in TNA. Her promos now are, I would hope, her promos now are better than they were a few years ago. But they're still not great. Like, I don't see her on, I still do think she should have gone to Raw or SmackDown immediately. I said that when she got hired by WWE a few months ago. But honestly, in retrospect, maybe they made the right call. She can spend some time in NXT. Not that, her in-ring work is already main roster worthy. But, her promos still do need work. In NXT, you cut a lot of promos. So, I do think she will improve from here. I think she'll ultimately be fine. Rhea's promos in NXT were not great. Rhea's early promos in the main roster up until, a year, and even her promos now are kind of not always great. But Rhea needed a lot of work on the promo front. And I feel like Jordynne Grace can kind of follow in her footsteps as far as not being great on the mic, but improving. And I feel like she'll be fine. But I don't blame you for feeling that way because her personality, I agree, isn't like, oh man, it screams like she should be in the main event of WrestleMania tomorrow. Like I said, she should have faced Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but you're probably right. She could use some more work on that front. His second question. Let's say you were to introduce a wrestling fan to AEW and your objective wasn't to introduce some of the greatest, was to introduce, I think it's probably what you meant. Anyway, some of the greatest AEW matches of all time, but some of the most underrated matches in the company's history. What matches would you consider underrated to show this young mark? For me, it's Punk and Moxley versus FTR from Atlantic City, New Jersey back in 2022. Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix for the AEW title in 2021. Shida versus Britt during COVID, where Britt got busted open. And I'll even go so far as to say the trilogy of matches Takeshita, Bandito, and Rush Bryan Danielson had during the build-up to his classic with MJF at Revolution back in 2023. All incredible matches. What matches would you show them? That's a great question. I don't really know. I don't know. When I saw your question initially, I didn't read all of it. I thought you meant there's a whole bunch of AEW matches I would show, like Omega and Paige and the storyline leading up to that. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of what other, I would mention that one or the Bucks versus Lucha Bros All Out 2021, but those are the obvious picks. Ospreay and Danielson last year at Dynasty. Really any Ospreay match, to be honest with you. If we're going underrated matches, is Cody and Dustin underrated? Probably not, but I would show them that. Trying to think of other matches that are what matches are underrated by AEW standards? Maybe you guys in the chat can help me out when I read back the chat in a little bit. I don't know. Definitely Cody and Dustin. You know what else I liked? Moxley and Eddie Kingston, or Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho in 2022. The first match at Revolution. That was a good one. Maybe that match. I'm trying to think of an underrated Punk match on TV or something. Punk had some, him and Matt Sydal had a good match on TV. Him and Eddie Kingston, I don't know if it's underrated, but I would show them Punk and Eddie Kingston from Full Gear 2021. That match was a lot of fun, although it wasn't a very long feud, but it was a very fun match. Really, those early years of AEW, nothing more so recently that comes to mind. Honestly, it's underrated. It's not it was probably my favorite thing of the entire Full Gear show this past year. Big Boom AJ versus QT Marshall. That's a fucking pick. I don't know if it's underrated, but that was a fun match. I would probably go with that. That would be one of my picks from Full Gear last year. So those are some of the ones that come to mind. Also, here's another one. I love this match. One of the best TV matches that AEW has ever done. Again, anything with Will Ospreay, but Will Ospreay versus Dax Harwood. They had a match on Dynamite. I think that was Ospreay's first singles match in AEW on TV. And that was right before he was at Forbidden Door that year doing what I forget. Was that the Omega match? I don't remember. That wasn't the Omega match. Maybe it was. I don't remember. But he had a match on Dynamite with Dax Harwood that was fucking great. And I would probably show them that as well. He said Alicia Fox is now in TNA. What the hell is this? Why the hell is this a reality? Why the hell is she getting a title match? And how the hell did we get here? So if you watch the show, she got a title match because Robert Stone, who for some reason has pulled in TNA despite being an NXT authority figure, showed up last week and said Masha defends the championship against Alicia Fox at that upcoming show in a few weeks. I don't know why. I've never been an Alicia Fox fan. I respect what she's done for the company as far as, like, I think she was the first Black Divas champion the WWE ever had. Not women's champion, Black Divas champion. I thought there were better women than her in the women's division even then, and in 2025, I'm not really sure why we need an Alicia Fox in-ring return. But you know what? She has fans. I mean, she had her fan base from the Divas division days, and maybe they're trying to tap into that. It's a throwaway opponent for Masha Slamovich. I mean, she beat Tessa at Rebellion, so she needs an opponent for that Under Siege show in a couple weeks, and they're giving her Alicia Fox. So, maybe they want to give Alicia one more match, one more run or something before she retires. I don't know what her plans are, but I don't hate it. It's a match for a B-level pay-per-view. It's not even a pay-per-view. It's a live event, live special, whatever. I don't really give a fuck, but maybe she'll surprise us and having a good match. Maybe she'll have a good match and surprise all of us. But, having an opponent like Masha Slamovich does not hurt because Masha is very good. Your next question. Which one of these two gentlemen would you consider to be the better heel? Here we go. The question of the day here. Triple H or Edge? I made this the headline because it is a good question. Of the two, man, I don't know. This is really difficult. Of the two, who is the better heel? I might go Edge. I feel like Edge is just such a great fucking heel. A lot of people said Triple H earlier. I'm going to say Edge. Because at least when Edge was world champion, which wasn't all that long, it was entertaining. Like his feuds with Cena was awesome. The feuds with Cena, Batista was good. Taker was great. I don't know. I just feel like with Triple H, he is an awesome heel. But when he was like on top from 02 to 05 as a heel, it was fucking boring for a lot of the time. A lot of those matches were not great. Some of the feuds were not great. Edge wasn't on top for quite as long as a heel. He was a heel from like 05 to 07, but he was really not the main event guy that he would become until like 07 when he went to SmackDown. But Edge in 08, 09 working with Jeff Hardy was great. I'm going to go Jeff. I'm going to go Edge. The Rated R Superstar stuff, the pairing with Lita was great. Being the ultimate opportunist, just being a slimy asshole. Triple H is a great heel, but he can be a little bit boring at times, and his matches don't always deliver. Edge's matches, to me, were almost always great, especially with like the Cenas, the Takers, the Batistas, the Rey Mysterios, the Randy Ortons on occasion, the Jeff Hardys. He was a perfect foil for a lot of guys during that period. So I'm going to go Edge. I'm going to say Edge. A lot of people said Triple H, and you're not necessarily wrong, but of the two, I prefer Edge. Their next question, Chris's next question. I'm just going to finish out the questions here because I got to get going soon, so I'll finish out all the questions, and then I'll go to the chat before we leave. Thoughts on all 17 releases last weekend? I feel bad for Gigi Dolan and Shotzi, he said. I kind of knew Shayna was going to get cut eventually. Braun Strowman really does struggle to control his narrative. I feel they should have done more with Chance and Catanzaro. I think you mean Carter. Katana Chance and Casey Catanzaro are the same person, but I know what you mean. Gallus were reliable heels, but duller than dust. I never really got the love for Cora Jade. Eddie Thorpe was cool for underground matches, but he didn't really wow me like I thought he would. Jakara Jackson gets fired, but Lash Legend still has a job is laughable to me, and everyone else is sad. But Dakota Kai is the one that upset me because, well, yeah, she was injury prone. She could have really been a star if the booking backed her up. What are your thoughts, and which promotions do you think they'll eventually find work in? I will go into more details about this on WrestleRant Radio on Thursday. Like I said, I just don't have the time today to talk about it, but I was always going to talk about it more in depth on Thursday. But anyway, I really don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I feel bad for Gigi and Shotzi, but Gigi, were they going to call her up on her own? No. I mean, they weren't going to do anything with her. Shotzi, she's been there for years. She never really connected with the crowd. I like Shotzi. I think she'll do well in other promotions, but in WWE, she was on the main roster for a while, dude. I'm surprised she didn't get cut sooner. Shayna, her peak was years ago. I like Shayna. She's still good, but her booking-wise, her peak was years ago. I mean, that was inevitable. Braun was the one that bothered me the most. Dakota Kai also bothered me, but I kind of get it because she wasn't a featured player. Braun was over. I mean, at least Dakota Kai wasn't really all that over. Braun was over. But Dakota Kai also bothers me. The other ones, like Jakara Jackson, I mean, Lash Legend is better than Jakara. But why break them up? Like, why not just use them as a tag team on the main roster? They were basically on the main roster about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, and I guess not. I don't know. Cora Jade, I liked more than you did, but with the women they brought in, they just were better than she was, like I said. Carter and Chance, I like. They're great. They're a great tag team, but if WWE doesn't give a fuck about those tag titles, they were never on TV. They won the belts. They lost them. They were barely on the show, so not shocking. Gallus, I think we're solid, but what more were you going to do with them? I feel like a faction with Drew McIntyre would have been cool, but beyond that, there really wasn't a whole bunch they could do with them. Eddie Thorpe was great for representation. He's good, but he's also great for representation. I don't think they have any Native American wrestlers on the roster, and I don't think they have any now that he's gone. And they tried with him. He never really clicked with me, but he was a better heel than a babyface. Everyone else I agree with. Where do I think they'll go? Hopefully not AEW. Maybe Dakota Kai and AEW. The rest of them, no, not really. TNA probably for like a GG. Cora Jade I could see working in like a TNA or a... the Indies, GCW, Shayna Bloodsport for sure. Chance and Carter, Chance and Carter, I have no idea. Gallus probably back in the UK. Eddie Thorpe, maybe back in New Japan. That's where he was previously, I think, and Strong and whatever. Maybe MLW. Jakara Jackson, I have no idea. Maybe TNA. So those are my quick thoughts on those. At Iwagu91, Mako Satomura recently retired. What are your thoughts? I only followed her. I know she's been wrestling for a very long time. It would have been nice to see her have one more match in WWE. I don't think they gave her one more match in WWE. I think her last match to date was the match with Roxanne Perez, actually, about 2 years ago. But I enjoyed her work in WWE on NXT UK and in the Mae Young Classic. She was great. So, would have been nice to see more of that on the main roster or on NXT, but I don't think she lived in the US. That's probably the issue with that. But I did enjoy her in NXT UK for as long as we got her, though. Second question, your current thoughts on Harley Cameron. She's good. I mean, she's improved. I'm not the biggest Harley Cameron fan. I think some of the stuff she does is a bit over the top and cringy to me, but she's popular. People love her. She's gotten herself over, which is great. She's improving in the ring, and I'm glad AEW has tried to kind of capitalize on that by featuring her more consistently on the show. Not in featured roles, but quite honestly, I'm not really sure what else you would do with her right now anyways. Is Jacob Fatu set to turn face in Solo Sikoa? Are they going to feud? Yeah, at one point I thought they might turn Solo face, but Solo is clearly the asshole out of the two. People want to boo Solo and cheer Jacob. So if they try to reverse the roles and make Jacob the heel, that probably wouldn't work, brother. So I would just keep Jacob a fan favorite because people like him anyway. SmackDown needs more credible heels, but Jacob Fatu was so liked. I mean, he was bound to endear himself to the audience eventually. I would turn him face and have him and Solo feud very likely over the United States Championship. Unless he loses it this weekend, but I don't think he will. At Millennial Noob, last question for the episode before we go back to the chat to wind things down. What are your thoughts on the recent WWE releases and where do you think they land next? Well, I answered that before, so I guess that is not the last question because I answered that just a moment ago. So anyway, we will wind down here. We'll read the chat one more time before we head on out. Let's see, where did we leave off? Let's see, control your narrative. Maria said, Crow Sting or Surfer Sting? Crow Sting. Surfer Sting's great. I've always been more Crow Sting. I always thought Crow Sting was way cooler. She also said, Cena should throw Truth into a car window to get the real heel he badly needs to save his flat heel turn. That would be nice. Not for Truth, but like as far as a great heel segment, I agree. Richie said, Mike had just created one hell of a what-if plot. Go become a writer, big dog. That was gold. It's better than some of the shit that come up with any of these companies, I'll tell you that much, including WWE. Backlash being so close from WrestleMania and Saturday Night Main Event following so soon after is too much. WWE needed to space those out further from one another. Yeah, the timing sucks. I mean, Mania was like an 8-week build, and then you have Backlash, Saturday Night's Main Event, and then Money in the Bank. It's ridiculous. And the timing is not, the spacing and the timing on that, the pacing is not great. Is Punk versus Darby an underrated match, Richie asked? I don't know. If it is, then yes, I would put that one in there. I think Punk and Darby is great. Is it underrated? I don't know. Maybe not, because it was Punk's first match back, but it was a great match. Maria said Punk had good matches on WWE's bootleg version of ECW. Yes, he did. He had a very good run there. Grunt said, if you're talking about the first Forbidden Door, then that would be Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy. That's what it was. I don't know if that would be underrated, but that would be another match I would probably show that average AEW mark, like coming into the company. That was also an awesome match. Probably the best one on that show. That was a great show. Richie said, what we really need is a Cameron/Ariana return. We definitely don't. But you know what? We got it at the Royal Rumble. So just rewatch your quick cameo in the Rumble, Richie, from Royal Rumble 2022. And that should satisfy you. Grunt said, heel Triple H 99 through 2000 was great. Heel Triple H anytime after that was a bore. Yeah, I feel like he was really in his peak in 97, 8, 99, and 2000. Because then he got hurt in 2001, and he wasn't really the same after that when he tore his quad. But yeah, I would go Edge overall, personally. Grunt said, though he is starting to become a real good heel in real life. Yeah, not wrong there after some of the stuff that was said over Mania week. Maria said, ranked top 5 PLEs from WWE so far for 2025. Like Grunt said, I'm not sure if they've had even 5 PLEs this year, but if I had to rank their PLEs this year, it's only been Chamber, Mania, Mania, and Rumble. Chamber was easily the best. I would probably go Chamber. I'd probably go Chamber, Rumble, then Mania. Mania was good overall, but I think Rumble was better. So I would go Chamber, definitely, then Rumble, then Mania. And I'm not counting NXT. That's just the main roster. And I don't count Saturday Night's Main Event. That's a TV special. Maria also asked, who's the MVP so far for WWE and MVP for AEW? Honestly, for WWE, it might be Liv Morgan. I mean, she is still doing great work even into 2025. I might go Liv Morgan. For the men, or Io Sky. Io Sky or Liv Morgan. For the men, though, not really Drew right now. Cody, maybe. Definitely not Cena. Punk's been doing some great stuff. So maybe Punk. I think Liv or Io, honestly. Liv or Io. Or Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu has also been great as well so far this year. And I'm enjoying Penta too. Daniel said, long live Melina versus Alicia Fox. I forget. Richie, your favorite. Melina versus... That's what we should do a rewatch of here on the channel. Melina versus Alicia Fox, the greatest women's match in wrestling, not even WWE history. We need that. Maybe a watch along soon. Maria said, what are your thoughts on the WWE making a lot of negative PR decisions lately? It's questionable. I talked about it a few weeks ago, but their PR week heading into Mania was fucking garbage. I don't know what was going on there. Some of the shit that was being said. The PR stuff lately has not been their strong suit. Let's put it that way. And then Richie said, who would you fantasy book Love Ziggler to face in today's landscape in WWE? I mean, obviously the answer would be Tyreek. But if Tyreek's not in WWE, that's a good question. Love Ziggler is just so much better than everyone else on the roster that it's hard to kind of say who the best opponent for him would be. I don't know. I don't know who it would be. Maybe John Cena, just because he's the champ. Love Ziggler versus Cody Rhodes, or maybe Rusev, or him and Dolph would be nice. He's not in WWE, but Dolph Ziggler versus Love Ziggler, that would be fun. I would pay good money for that. Yeah, maybe him. Or the answer is always Tyreek, but Tyreek's not in WWE, so I guess we can't say that. I guess we can't say Tyreek. Shout out to Tyreek. Richie also said Melina versus Alicia Fox, the true once-in-a-lifetime WrestleMania 50 run-it-back. I hear voices in the air. Are you talking about the Machine Gun Kelly song? I hear voices in the air. Oh, yeah, because once-in-a-lifetime Mania 28, I get it. Love Ziggler would be the real last world champion. I agree. They're just not booking him. They benched him. They pivoted, and they benched him. We can blame the fucking Rock for that. Fuck you, Dwayne. Maria said, how long do you think Joe Henry will be TNA champ for? I could see him losing it at Slammiversary. Against who, I don't know. He retained a Rebellion, and he's facing... honestly, Trick Williams as TNA champion would be interesting. I don't know. I mean, that would just prolong Trick's run in developmental. He should be on the main roster by now. But, yeah, I would say maybe by Slammiversary. I'll say he probably loses it by then. But it would be fine if he holds on to it beyond that. I'm not complaining. Daniel said, even if Cena ruins wrestling, loves Ziggler. That's funny. Even if Cena brings back wrestling, even if John Cena ruins wrestling, Love Ziggler will bring it back. Yes, he will. I agree, Daniel. Pivoting Love Ziggler is crazy. I agree, Daniel. You can't pivot Love Ziggler. You can't bench him. You can't pivot him. You can only embrace Love Ziggler. And Alexis with the $2 super chat. Shout out to Tyreek. He's scared of me. He is. He only shows up when you're not here, Alexis. Don't show up and maybe he'll show up. He showed up during #GSM for GM last week. He fucking scared him away. I agree, Richie. At least we got to see Love Ziggler this past week. That was his brother Dolph. You're getting the mistaken, Richie. Dolph is his brother. Love Ziggler is someone completely separate. We still got to figure out our Love Ziggler nicknames. We got to work on that before I see you next. Shout out to Tyreek. We stand Tyreek. Yeah, yes, we do. Yes, we do here on this chat. Grunt said, I think Beach Break could be on par with the Dynamite from a couple of weeks. Depending on what else they could book, could definitely be Moxley's best match of this reign. Yeah, I think Beach Break should be good. I'm looking forward to Moxley and Joe. It won't be the same match that it could have been 5-10 years ago, but I'm looking forward to the match. I think the promos could be good too. They got to give us a Moxley Joe face-off in the ring. They talk shit about each other, but we need it in the ring. None of this cryptic bullshit with Moxley. Like an actual we can get one. If we can get one from fucking Gunther and Pat McAfee, then we need one from Joe and Moxley before Beach Break next week. I agree, Daniel. Where the fuck are you, Tyreek? And Richie said, shit, you're right, my bad, brother. You know what? I read that when you said shit, I read that I read that as with GTA in my mind. Shit, here we go again. That's what I thought you were going to say. He said, shit, you're right, my bad. They just look eerily similar. Very similar. Not the same person, but very similar. Yeah, I need that promo off, please. I agree, Grunt. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, this has been a blast. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, which I'm sure you have. But if you haven't, be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified every single time we upload new content and every single time we go live, which could be tomorrow. I might be going live tomorrow with #GSM for GM episode 6, season 4. So stay tuned for that here on the channel. So we will not very likely be live on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio, just to give you guys a heads up. I will very likely not be live tomorrow for that. Not Thursday, rather. We're probably going to record it tomorrow and then put it up on Thursday. But what we'll do is I will premiere it on Thursday. So if you guys are around and want to watch the video, it's going to be the video of the show per usual. We just won't be live answering questions and whatnot. But I will be in the chat. And we can chat and talk about whatever in the chat. So very likely that's the plan. If not doing that, then we might do it live on Thursday, just early in the morning. So heads up on that front. But anyway, if you guys want to consider becoming a channel member and get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream, you can do so by signing up for an all-access WrestleRant channel membership pass. You get top billing and #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio with comments and questions. Average Grunt, he's a channel member. He asked a question here today. He had his question answered first. The chat stuff is separate. I'm talking if you send in a question ahead of time, you get your question answered first. You get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream. Discord access soon. Badges and emojis in the live chats. Members-only live streams. Like I said, I might consider doing a members-only live stream watching an old Backlash match or a Backlash show soon. Stay tuned for that. Early and ad-free access to certain videos and so much more. $5 a month will get you included in these channel shout-out members. Channel member shout-outs, rather. That includes Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1. He is at Swerve1 on IG. That is Swerve, W-O-N. Daniel Malcolm, you saw him in the chat. It is I am Quarter on X, letter I, letter M, Quarter on X. RJ Marceau, Speak of the Devil, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine. John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland here on YouTube. Check out his channel. Richie as well, you saw him in the chat earlier. Right now, actually. Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube. Check out his channel. He does great work. And last but certainly not least, Average Grunt. Check him out on Twitter, The Average Grunt. Follow him there. And appreciate him joining it with us, as well as Daniel and Richie. We had Maria here earlier, Alexis, Johnny, bunch of other random people a little bit earlier on. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. As always, we'll be live again probably tomorrow. Other videos going up. I still have to review all the Dark Side of the Ring reviews that I've missed in the last couple of weeks, so bear with me. That stuff will be up at some point. I don't know when, but it will be up eventually when I have the time to review it all. And Grunt saying a couple of weeks ago is what he meant. Damn typos. Richie said, W stream, W chat. Appreciate it, Richie. Thank you so much. Grunt said, maybe one of these days I'll have something other than my dead Twitter to plug. Hey, maybe. If you have something else, Grunt, let me know, and I'll plug it in there instead of your Twitter machine. But yeah, that's going to do it, folks. Have an awesome one. I think that's all as far as the plugs go and whatnot. But yeah, have an awesome one, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch your ass down the road. Oh, actually, I should mention one last thing. How did I forget to mention this? If you want to send in a question to the show, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Facebook as well, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews, or I just mentioned the backslash. Facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And on this very video, drop your question in the comment section after it's done being live, of course. And I'll include your question in next week's edition. There we go. Now I got everything out of the way. Have a great one, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Happy belated Cinco de Mayo with my very old No Way Jose shirt. How fucking random is that? And I'll catch your ass down the road.